Yeah, and that is what many people's focus will be on today, of course, Bafana Bafana's opener against Angola this evening. Now, the Department of Tourism hopes to increase international tourist arrivals from 8.9 to 15 million per annum, growing total employment, direct and indirect jobs to 2.3 million jobs. Now, increased annual domestic trips, that's what they're aiming to move from 40 million to 45 million per year by 2029. And this year, South Africa's tourism has seen growth with more international tourists visiting our country. But to talk to us more about this, we're joined by Aldrin Sampear, who's the spokesperson for the Minister of Tourism. Let's take you back to Limpopo.
Very good morning to you, Sakina. I was going to come in as if it's a live crossing, coming live to you from Kambuka to Safaris and River Lodge. Very good morning to you, ladies. Good morning, good morning. And these, Sakina, are Sekapa Satlapeng, their cultural group that are performing here for us this morning as part of the groups that when we welcome tourists, one of the things that we always pride ourselves in is our cultural heritage. And this is just one indication of our cultural heritage and what we have to offer. As the minister always says, it's not just about these beautiful safaris, but it's also about the people. When international tourists leave South Africa, one of the things that they always speak about is the warmth that they receive from fellow South Africans. And you must have experienced that as well, Sakina. Very good morning to you.
Indeed, and it's something that I absolutely love and absolutely look forward to, just showcasing our beautiful country. And one of the exciting things, Aldrin, that I want us to talk about is the numbers. On Friday, we spoke to Gauteng Tourism, and Baba was talking to us about how they've literally shot out the lights in terms of their targets, having met and exceeded their targets. And if you look at the numbers, it's been growing steadily and really encouraging if you look at what we see.
Certainly. If you look at the projections that we currently have, we project that we might just receive around 10.5 million visitors this year alone, which means that it's an increase of about 20% when compared to the previous year. Now, that is a 4 times fold compared to the growth that we experienced between 2023 to 2024. Last year, we were at 5% increase compared to 2023, and this year we're looking at about 20%, 10.5 million that we are looking at receiving this year. And this is, of course, also part of the minister's targets that she needs to achieve. 15 million visitors by the end of the seventh administration, or by the end of 2030, and people are quite hopeful that we will be able to achieve those numbers, also taking into consideration some of the markets that people might have not thought that we would get such increases, like, for instance, the United States as well as Canada, where we experienced a 13% increase just coming from Canada. At some point, even the United States surpassing UK as well as Germany, but the UK is now back at the top.
Which is fabulous, when we look at the numbers. But of course, people will say, Aldrin, the big thing is unlocking employment, meaningful employment in the sector, which is, of course, seen as low-hanging fruit, if you will, for South Africa and, of course, our employment creation problems overall.
Yeah, the Tourism Growth Partnership Plan that you were referencing a bit earlier on, it has 5 key pillars, and one of those key pillars is job creation. And if you look at job creation, if you look at the Government of National Unity's 3 key priorities, the first priority is job creation. So that's at the core of what we are currently doing here at the Department of Tourism. And part of this as well is to say that if we are looking at the demand that will increase over the next few years as we try to get to that 15 million target, what about the jobs that are required? And this is where the minister always speaks about the demand-led skills and how this private sector is able to come to the party and say that these are the type of jobs that we need to create. But then on the other end as well, as we just mentioned now, when you look at tourism, it is a low barrier to entry, not as difficult as I explained to somebody else when it comes to, for instance, working in engineering. It is not as tough to enter the tourism sector. However, though, there is the support that is required, and that's why the government has these various programs in trying to support SMMEs who are trying to get into the sector, but also getting the private sector, the ones that are well established already, to incubate some of these establishments and make sure that they also are able to succeed with the core, of course, of achieving jobs and that 15 million target of international visitors.
And Aldrin, that growth strategy obviously goes hand in hand with facilitating ease of travel. So in that regard, we heard about the electronic travel authorization and, how that was meant to basically facilitate easy access. So just talk to us about some of those strategies, because those are also key in ensuring that you not only sustain but exceed future targets.
Yeah, and it's also about growing a new source markets as well. India as well as China has been identified as one of those, two of those source markets, and that's the reason why the electronic travel authorization will be rolled out to citizens of those countries, including Mexico. Indonesia was on that list as well, but following that agreement that South Africa has reached with Indonesia, it is no longer on that list. But those three countries, China, Mexico, as well as India, they will be benefiting from the electronic travel authorization. We're just now waiting for the Minister of Home Affairs to announce when it will be rolled out to the citizens of those countries, and eventually to any other person who wants to visit the country, coming from a country that requires a visa.
Well, Aldrin, thank you so much. And yeah, the minister has been consistent in talking about those new markets, especially China, looking at the size of that market and what it could offer. We're playing against Mexico in the opener in Mexico City in the World Cup FIFA. And it's going to be interesting to see how we actually go about enticing people in those markets to come to South Africa. Aldrin Sampear, spokesperson for the Minister of Tourism. And thank you so much for speaking to us this morning. And he is, of course, also at Kambaku 2, which is the location for this morning's broadcast as we continue to follow the sun here on Morning Live.